Hey girls, turn your kink into cash. Fetishes have never paid so well. Visit flirtywork.com to learn more. While online, check out sensualdominationmistress.com for weekly articles on BDSM. Also, look up True Kink Podcasts on iTunes and FetLife. Let's get to the show.
Hey everybody, KingHulk here with another great episode of FetCast for you. On this week's episode, I interviewed a great DespoenaCalypso. I'm sure I messed that name up, and I apologize. I'm used to calling her Maker's Doll on Twitter because that's where we met. She does a lot of teaching rope and everything, so of course we discussed rope in this episode, self-suspension, all this great stuff. I've learned quite a bit from her, and she's definitely going to be back on future episodes, so I really do need to learn how to say her name correctly. I'm going to skip to that part in the episode and just listen to it over and over again until I can finally get it. I believe I am saying it correctly, maybe. DespoenaCalypso. Anyway, it's a great episode. Before we jump right into it, don't worry, I'm not going to try to sell you on patreon.com/FetCast. That was last week. I'm not going to get into the whole spiel about supporting the show and all that. Wink. Last night I went to the Route 40 Munch, and we've talked about it on the show, and I had a great time. My memory is sometimes not the greatest, and last night they did an introduction game, but it was a memory game at the same time. Everyone had to stand up and say, "Hi, my name is," and what they're into, start with same letter of their first name. And I have a horrible memory, and I was the next to dead last person that had to do it. And when they said the rules of the game, I was so pissed because I'm like, my memory sucks. I am not going to be able to do it. Somehow I did it. And then a few hours later, I came home, and I was able to repeat it all back to Bambi. And she went, "Well, it's your long-term memory that, has the problem." And I went, no, this was hours ago. To me, it's not my short-term. That is my long-term memory. If it happened a few hours ago and I'm able to do it all. So I actually liked the game. It turned out well. I did not think I'd be capable of doing it, and I did. So I was proud of myself. Although I do have to admit, I had a bit of a really good moment that kind of just put a lot of energy into me when I introduced myself, and all I said was, "And I'm into FetCast," and it got a nice little applause to it. And sure, I do admit I did know a good amount of people there, maybe like a third of the people there, but it was still nice to get that kind of reaction, and I was not expecting it. And that kind of shook me up, but I still was able to remember everybody's name and what they're into. So I feel good about that. And it was that kind of reaction that it kind of just gave me a new kind of energy for the show. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about the show, and there's a lot more stuff I want to do with it, a lot more. Anyway, I'm still kind of floating off that much. It was just a great experience. I was, again, not expecting that. It really makes doing the show week after week worth it. So sit back, relax, take some notes if you want to, and enjoy this week's episode. Welcome to FetCast.
Cool. I'm super,
floaty?
Oh, man. Can we just say that was amazing? That was the fourth time he's tied a TK. I don't think you guys understand. Whew. I've been teaching rope for a very long time, so when somebody can just, pick it up and then implement it into the bedroom, that's a damn good day.
Now, what exactly is a TK?
A gote. So it's a box tie. So basically your hands are like this, but behind your back. So it makes a square out of your body.
I learned something.
You learn things! I'm drinking wine. It's a thing right now.
I got Propel.
Woo! Typically I would like something like that, but this is left over from dinner because dinner didn't get finished.
Wonder why.
It was a good day. Big smile. That's what happens. It is my my attitude adjustment as in a whole.
Now, was it punishment for anything, or?
Oh, fuck no. I am not S-type enough to be any of those things. I can be slave and I can serve if that's how the dynamic feels for me. But for the most part, if I'm bottoming for anything, it's because I've very highly negotiated everything that's going to happen. And I want it to happen. I'm very spoiled, I guess.
Makes sense.
I mean, if you think about it like a blowjob, Like, you might not tell them how to do everything exactly how you want it, but typically if you're just sitting back letting a partner give you a blowjob, it's because they know what you like and they're going to do it.
Actually, I'm just grateful for any blowjob, so I just get what I can take. No, take what I can get. Oh.
So it's super rare that I have somebody that can tie me up. Like, so my students will tie me up. Like, they'll learn and they'll get to a point where I'll say, okay, now do it to me, because I can tell them where the tensions are wrong. Like, if it's the third rope down on my upper arm on the right side, like, it can be like, hey, that third rope down, your tension is different than the rest of the whole tie. And then we can talk about why that is. And then once you load bear in that, we can talk about why it didn't work right. And I understand, like, okay, so these are the muscles that your bottoms need to be using. So for me, like, it's good. It's a good tool for me to use with my students when I'm mentoring someone for rope or whatever, because I have experienced it as a bottom. So I have a much better feedback than just standing there watching them tie someone. Typically we both have a bottom though. And like, then I teach. So,
but yeah, it is different when you're feeling it yourself. Then you can give them more detailed of what exactly they need to change.
A lot of times my students are also self-tires and like self-suspenders anymore, because it's a lot of what I do. So being able to tell them like, okay, this is the muscle I use when I do this versus that, I think that helps.
Sorry, because I know I'm probably going to be using a lot of that part in the show. Cool. So I'm just going to head introduce you as DC. And how do you say your name on Fet? If you want to say it or not.
It's two Grecian goddesses. It's DespoenaCalypso.
I knew the second part.
Yeah, well, the second part's the easy part. And it's funny because I actually met a Greek woman whose name is Despoena. Like, oh, wow. And some people say DespoenaCalypso. Like, it just kind of depends on what, like, area of Greece. There's actually a huge backstory to that. But I had... when I was much younger, when I got into the scene, I was right around 18, and I was trying to find something that wasn't my initials, but I could still shorten really quick if I wanted to. And so I was looking at Grecian goddesses because the idea of being a goddess was super fascinating to me. I found Despoena, and she is a product of love and sensuality and romance between her parents. And then I found Calypso, who is more of a product of rape. And she's chaos. And so the concept of sensual chaos like seemed right to me. That's a very good mix for me. But also I am a music geek and I play a lot of instruments, and they're both minor Grecian goddesses, and two minors make a major. So there's a lot of aspects to that.
You put a lot of thought into your name.
Yeah, because I knew I was going to be going by it for a long time.
A lot of people don't put the effort into thinking their name out. Like when I made my first one, I wasn't thinking about it at all.
Or they use their real name or something. That's no good.
Yeah. One friend used his initials and his birth year.
Yeah. No thanks. I don't need people to be coming by my work and hanging out. I'm a bookkeeper. I work for an accounting firm. I have a pretty serious job during the day. And the fact that the sides of my head are shaved is pretty out there as it is for this company. So I'm trying not to have people show up with a collar and be like, beat me, mistress, like in the middle of my office. I can't even imagine.
Gotta charge double for that.
Yeah, I charge their soul for that. That's all I require, just your soul. If you want to serve me, it's fine. So what do you want to know? How can I harass you?
Any way you like. Wait a minute. I should have read your profile a little better before I say something like that.
You really should. Although most of my fetishes are very like bland. It's like, you should probably ask me what I like, or like being petted till I fall asleep. Like, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I use as a term of endearment. Yeah, that's pretty normal for me.
Yeah, like my fetish list, like I think when I set my profile up, I just went through and did like quick generic. Everything else, like I never put any thought into it. I just, if it comes up while I'm on the site, then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, add that.
I used to have a very in-depth, very like into giving and receiving and watching. Like it was really well thought out. And I got sick of people contacting me to just do those one or two things. And so I deleted all of it. I went through a breakup and was just like, forget this. I don't want to do any of this. I think we all do that eventually.
Yeah.
And then I very slowly kind of added stuff back, but it was more like the concept of third, trust, honor, integrity, respect, and discipline, or like rack. Like, it was more concepts that I believe in that I would find interest in someone else that had that same thought process versus play. Like, obviously rope, always rope. Rope is the first love.
And you teach a lot of classes on rope, right?
I do. I actually am one of the coordinators for Atlanta Hitch and Bitches. I have taught for bed. I'll be at Restrained in a couple of months. I'm going to FAPCon 3 up in Canada and teaching there. And I actually just taught at the Atlanta Eagle this past weekend, which was super fun because it was a bunch of like really sexy gay men tying each other up and learning bondage, like usable bondage for sex. And that's a big thing for me. Like, everyone is like, yeah, that's great that it took you 10 years to learn all that, but how do I do this in the bedroom? So a lot of what I like to do is teach people, okay, these are the basics, and it's like Legos. So now build these 5 patterns together into a house. Okay, now make a car. Now make a garden, but with those 5 pieces, people can typically enjoy sex in a different way and enjoy scening in a different way. And that for me is super important. So that's a lot of my focus, but also tying normal people. Not that models aren't normal, because I also fetish model. I'm a curvier girl. I'm a size 12 and I'm only 5'3". So I got all the booty and all the shape. And I love to tie women that have shape. I love it because it's not necessarily a challenge. It's just a different way of doing things. And I also think that hourglass figure is just like really attractive in rope. And, if people are in my rope, they're art. So I also like to tie men. And not everyone is super flexible. Like, the largest man I've ever tied was like 500 something pounds.
Oh, wow.
Full suspension.
Wow.
And I've tied a young lady that was around 350 or so. So I've actually tied some really big people. And then I tied somebody that was literally 75 pounds and she was just super tiny.
Oh, wow.
And I like to tie somewhere in the middle of that. When you look at America in general, or even the kink scene in general, like you always have like the very tiny and the very large, but it's, for the most part, we're very like average-ish size. And so that's where my bondage lies. Like, I think it's great that people are super amazing athletes. I have really strong core strength and I have really strong leg muscles and arm muscles for my size. But there are some things that I see self-suspenders do that I'm like, I could have every intention of doing that in the world and I would die. It looks really cool. And I appreciate that for what it is. I'm much more interested in teaching people like me how they can make this sport or this fetish accessible to them and their partners. That's really important to me. That's really, that's what kink is about, is having fun and doing what you like with your partners.
Hey, I've took some time and I've learned some rope before, but my problem is I'll learn rope for a little bit and then it takes me so long to get back around to doing it again. I've already forgotten what I learned. So, do
I need to send you videos?
Yes, you do.
Okay. I actually really need to put the rest of my videos up. I have a single column. I really like the Portuguese single column tie. It's a bowline. Most people in Atlanta right now are using the Somerville, which is great, and that's fine. And that's what's being taught. And I think that's a wonderful. But typically you learn one or the other and then you just kind of stick with it. Every once in a while I'll use the other one just so I remember it. But everyone has their muscle memory. So I do a lot of tying on chairs still, or myself, or sometimes the dog. I have a 75-pound boxer, so he actually is a sustainable, like, large piece of something that I can tie. He's very patient.
Wow. I would imagine he'll try and bite you for that.
No, he's my submissive. That's the joke. He's actually wonderful, like, furniture. Like, he likes to be under my feet and
he's just like, whatever, do what you want. I don't care.
Yeah, he's 13 now, so he could care less. Actually, he wears a chain collar, and if I take it off and I say I don't want you anymore and walk away, he gets really sad and he'll follow me and I'll go, are you mine? And he'll go and kind of whine for a second. I'll hold out the collar and he'll stick his face through it and collar himself. I've had submissive men that were jealous of my dog.
Oh, wow.
Because we have a really cool connection. I'm like, yeah, well, if you had 13 years of a relationship with me, you'd have that too. And you speak English, so it'd probably be better.
Yeah, my dog, when I'm recording here, I take his collar off, so if he walks around, it doesn't jingle.
That's probably a good idea. I should have done that. He's rubbing his back right now.
He's upstairs anyway, but for some reason, he likes his collar. So once I'm done recording, I'll just hold his collar up, and he just walks over and puts it on.
Yeah, I mean, I think they know that means that, we feel responsible to them or something.
Yeah.
My dad once said, because I asked him, what's love? And he's like, love is doing things for someone that you can or cannot do for yourself. And I think in a lot of ways, like having an animal or a pet, or not to compare them too strongly, but a submissive or a child, like having that love for them and taking care of them in ways that maybe they can't do for themselves, or without any thanks on our part in return. Like, obviously we want the thanks, but I think that that's a big part of it. And I think it shows in how you treat your animals and your people.
We met on Twitter, right?
We did. And I wasn't sure who this person was, like, just following me, but they thought I was really funny and they liked my pictures. And I was like, cool, because I am freaking hilarious, in my opinion. I'm sure lots of people disagree, but that's fine. They can have their opinion too. Yeah,
with FetCast Twitter, I follow. I try to keep it down. I don't want to be one of those people that just follow a ton of people to try and get followers. Like, I first did that when I first had the account, and then I just shaved it down to like maybe 100 people. But now I'm like still adding some people, like, oh, they're interesting. But you're one of the few people where I actually starred you, so I see your tweets when they pop up.
Oh, goodness. All my ridiculous tweets about sex or rope or,
every time
or my plants. All my plants. I love my plants.
I'm on Twitter a lot, but for the FetCast one, I have people just starred, like people I talk to that I want to get on the show. I'm like, oh, they tweeted. Heart, retweet.
That's awesome.
And then I'll set up tonight. I saw your wonderful tweet that you did shortly before this.
You can say it. It's okay.
I'm like, I can't wait to talk to her now.
Oh, yeah. I'm on cloud 9 still. Yeah, well, I messaged you beforehand because I was like, if this runs late, like if he gets full of himself, I'm going to be late getting on the show. And I was like, that would be really not cool. So let me at least tell him, because you're kinky. So at least you get it. You'll be like, oh, yeah, no, that happens. I understand. Yeah. He just learned how to tie the goatee on Sunday. And so I needed to make sure he still had it, because those frictions and the tie-offs they're really precise. And so if you don't practice it, you lose it. And so I was like, oh, can you come over Monday? We'll have some dinner, and that'd be really great. You can practice that tie. And then that just evolved or de-evolved, as you want to put it, into all the sexy times, which was great. I'm glad. We're still in NRE, so it's super gross.
NRE?
New relationship energy.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's been 2 months tomorrow, so it's really gross still.
And this is what, Mr. Panda you call him?
This is Mr. Panda, yeah.
I'm assuming that's what that emoji meant.
Huh?
I'm assuming that's what the emoji meant every time you put Mr.
Yes,
Panda.
Isn't that funny? I was like, oh, there's a panda. We'll just use that. That's much easier than 5 letters. So.
Hey, it saves you. And on Twitter, characters matter a lot.
Exactly. I wish they had a doll, like, little thingy so that I could, like a doll key or something. They have a robot, but that's not quite right.
Nah. Now, how long have you been in a lifestyle?
Oh, that is sort of a mixed question. So legally, I have to say 18. But realistically, probably more like 16 or 15. But it was in private. Like, I didn't understand that there were other people that did this. So around 15, 16, I had a boyfriend and a girlfriend because I didn't understand why I couldn't have both. So I was naturally bisexual, even though I was told that that was a sin. I was pretty dominant. Like, I wanted to be in charge of other people's pleasure, and I didn't understand why I couldn't be. I would, like, tie up the girlfriend and then tell the boyfriend how to fuck her. Like, and I was actually technically a virgin until I was 18. I made some life decision that I just wasn't going to until I felt like I was ready, and I just didn't feel ready until then. I don't know.
Well, that's a good decision to make.
I wanted to be legal as I think what it was. I was like, that seems like that's trouble. And I was having just as much fun tying people up and doing what I wanted. Then I kind of met the wrong people at the wrong time, had some really interesting trauma, and was pretty horribly abused for a little while there and got out of it. and tried to run away from the scene, like tried to not be in it. That didn't work at all. Like the next guy I dated was a Marine, and I started tying him to the bed, and like it just became a thing again. And so I didn't get away from it. As far as rope goes, which is my first love, like it truly is, there are pictures of me self-suspending at 4 years old. There are pictures of me tied with like sheets, like cocoons, with books and just reading, or like with my brother hanging in trees and off of decks. Like I've sort of always done it. And I know a couple other rope people that have sort of always done it. They tied up their Barbies or whatever. But it was much more like I wanted to be tied and be safe, but I wanted to make sure that I could control that I was safe. And I think that's really played over into the adult life.
Yeah, because it was back in December when we went to the Jingle Ball, we saw a woman do self-suspension.
Super.
And we were just blown away by it because we were like, you can actually do that? And she's all like, just hoisting herself up, and I want to talk to her.
Some of them, it's like watching Cirque du Soleil. I'm not quite that cool. Well, it depends on who you talk to. Every once in a while, I'll do something really fun, like I'll do a split and like twerk my butt or something really ridiculous. But for the most part, I just want to sit in a hip harness and pull myself up and swing around and tie myself into a ball while I'm hanging there and be a little sadistic, and then let myself out and drop all the way to the ground, like slowly, but in a controlled manner, but still drop to the ground.
I'll never be able to do that because I know that's how I'm going to die. Like,
you're going to die swinging from your neck? Or
no, if I tried self-suspension, something's going to go wrong and they're just going to find me the next day.
Well, so it's funny you say that. I used to self-tie by myself at my house. And, my dog actually had to save me. Your dog is not a safe call. They cannot dial 911 for you when you get stuck hanging by one ankle and you're too tired to sit up and untie yourself.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was special. And that was 7 or 8 years ago. And I actually have a rule that if somebody's going to learn self-suspension from me, they have to basically sign something that says, I will not tie by myself. Like, they're not always physically signing something, but it's definitely like a very serious conversation I have with other people present to make sure that it's very clear that I don't find that to be a safe thing. Even when I'm tying in a dungeon, even if I'm not self-tying, if I'm tying someone else, I always have a spotter. I have a friend there that knows how, if something happens to me and my bottom's hanging upside down, who's going to get them down?
Yeah.
So I don't think that rope is a singular sport. I think it's very much so a teamwork thing, but you can enjoy a self scene. Like, I think that's perfectly reasonable to do. Just, you got to do it safely. I've just known too many people that have died in bondage.
Oh, wow.
Like, you only need to know one, but I know more than one that have died in like sleep sacks and stuff like that. And that's just absolutely horrible. That's not a way that I would want my family to find me. So
I've always joked that I want to die during sex, but
I mean, that sounds great, but by yourself, like probably not.
Yeah, no, that would be just sad. Yeah,
it'd be a bummer. It is cool to watch the self-suspensions. There are some really, really talented people out there. I mean, I was in Orlando for a good part of my kink scene, so there wasn't really a lot of other people that self-suspended or even knew how to suspend. And I learned at the Woodshed in Orlando, which, they're a great place if you want to ever check out a place that's fun. And I did some staff stuff there for a couple of years and got very proficient in tying and suspending. And somewhere along the way, I decided that I was just going to tie myself. And like, I had done it as a child and I had done it as a teenager, but somewhere it just like, it didn't flow over to my brain that I could do that for sex or that I could do it to be sexy. And once I sorted out that I could be my own puppeteer, like, it was a whole other world. And now there's a whole bunch of people that do it. I didn't know other people did it at the time.
Yeah, I never even heard of it till we saw it happening. We were just looking over like, is she waiting for somebody? What is she? She's just doing it herself then.
Yeah. Watch me do. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like, she had like safety shears like tucked in her underwear.
That's exactly what I do that too. Or I have it sitting underneath me, or I have somebody that's watching me that can give it to me. Because I get done and I'm super derped out. I just sit there. I'm like, now I want a cookie.
Because we were recording when we were watching it. Because we were at the big play space. And when I went back to edit it, I realized we just sat there for 20 minutes not talking at all.
That's funny. It's actually starting to transition over. There are some people that do circus arts, like the hoop and the lyra. Well, the lyra and the hoop are the same thing. The silks, like Muck, one of my mentees, I guess you want to call it. She's amazing. She's teaching. She's doing her own thing, but she does really amazing self-suspensions in these big hoops. And she is a curvy girl, and she can do like amazing stuff that just, I mean, my jaw dropped open when I watched her do it. And I was like, I don't know what I could possibly teach you. She's amazing. I learned stuff from Vera. She's really cool. She's up in Canada. I think Tipperith and Fuoco are teaching some stuff, I think, for bed. I think they're doing a whole bottoming line. I don't know. I've been keeping a pretty close ear to what's going on with the rope bottom scene. I'm enjoying seeing it grow and the education being brought to the bottoms. If you think about it, like 5-10 years ago in the scene, I mean, the most I ever got told for fire play was, well, make sure you don't have your hair down, you know, like, so it doesn't catch on fire. There wasn't a whole bunch of like, and if you get burnt, this is what happens and this is how you handle it. Well, same thing in the rope scene. Like, you got told, you know, oh, if you can't feel your fingers, you might have nerve damage. You should probably some Madbell. Like, we didn't talk about wrist drop as much. I think it happened, and I think that maybe it was talked about in private circles, but now it's like really widely known that you can have nerve damage. And so I think that the risk-aware properties of the scene have changed. I think it's for the better.
Yeah, there's a lot of safety classes and information that they keep spreading.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's more books and there's more videos. I mean, there just was nothing when I was, I was making it up. And turns out everyone else was making it up too, or they were going to Japan and getting some really awesome knowledge and bringing it back to their communities. Now, the way the travel has been with people traveling like Gorgon or Kazami has been around, it's completely changed how rope looks and how it feels and like how people interact with each other regarding rope. It's like this whole other movement. It's blowing my mind. It's good though.
I keep needing to learn more.
I mean, I think where I always start people is like a single column tie, like a wrist or a waist or an ankle, and then a double column tie. So double column would be like two of those things, like two wrists or a wrist and an ankle or a wrist to a waist. And once you have those two things, you have a lot of the pieces you need to do like sexy stuff. And then I like to do a reverse tension chest tie that keeps the arms out of it so that if you have a bottom that maybe is claustrophobic, you don't find that out the hard way. And so I just kind of like to give those little building blocks. And then from there, I go into more Japanese style rope bondage like futumomos and the takatakote, which is the gote, which is the box tie. There's lots of words for it, but they're all very different in how the hands sit behind the back. Or like the body harness. Like, have you ever seen people walking around with rope on their body?
Yeah.
Between their crotch. Like, that can be really sexy and really fun to wear, and you can do that under your clothes.
Yeah, because a lot of the rope that I have...
good and naughty. Do what?
A lot of the rope that I have done, I just call it's been more decorative, where like I just do up Bambi's like legs or arms. I make a corset, but as far as actually like restraining with rope, that's where I kind of get nervous and leery about. That's why I don't do that too often.
Do you want my suggestion?
What's that?
Blindfold them. Then they have no idea how it looks, but they know how it feels. Honestly, rope is so sensual, and it's so about tactile and the sound of it. Like, I love rope. Rope is an instrument to me. I play 8 instruments. So when I'm playing rope, literally playing, like, I'll have put like rope around someone's body and tighten it down, and then I'll take an extra piece and I'll just be vibrating different bits of the body around different parts of the rope. Because the rope will vibrate on itself if it's twisted rope, typically. And so it becomes my instrument, and I can feel it, I can hear it, I pluck it. Like, to me, that is a whole other way to scene. Like, you don't have to just beat someone or suspend them. Like, suspension is not the end-all, be-all. The connection's really what you're going for. And I mean, I know I see stuff on FetLife, they're like, yeah, okay, the connection, we're really sick of hearing that. But there really is like an energy that you can have, like just like spanking, just like fire, just like whips, just like breath play.
Yeah, you're connecting with the person you're playing with.
Yeah, and
that's good.
Gorgeous. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I try to think of other forms of play in the BDSM scene that require, because you don't really see like flogger groups, right? Yeah, sometimes you see a fire play group. The other thing I think of is like whips, like big whips, like the single tails and the bull whips and stuff like that. That's something that I enjoy, and I can teach on a one-on-one level. But I feel like there's so many other people out there that can teach that better than I can do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's that whole other level. And like fire play can be really showy and really beautiful. I've seen people get horribly maimed by fire. So I'm always iffy about that being something that I get showy with.
Yeah.
And I guess electro play, but I don't see electro groups. I mean, what's another group? I mean,
well, you literally just named pretty much all the stuff that I do a lot of, like
paddles?
flogging, paddles, violet wand, and fire cupping.
But do you have like meetings with people and get together and just talk about like the leather on your flogger?
No.
I don't do that. And rope people will literally sit around with like 5 different kinds of rope and talk about the properties of the rope. Like it's really...
And all that goes over my head.
There was a time in my life where I was like, you guys are weird. I don't need to be into it like that. Like whatever, nylon's fine or jute's fine or hemp's fine or I'll just use bamboo or, and I just didn't care. Like give me rope. I don't need it. But now I'm so specific. I actually have a sponsor. Can I tell you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Drex Rope is my sponsor. And he actually offers a 10% off. Is it promo DC or DC promo? I never remember. But basically you get 10% off his rope if you use, I think it's promo DC. And he does jute and he does electro jute. So you like to do electricity. I just got pink sparkly rope in. I'm not even kidding. It's pink and sparkly and it conducts electricity.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to talk about next because...
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Like not too long ago, I got some conductive rope myself. And it is fun.
Mm-hmm. I have a violet wand and I used to use it a ton. I used to teach classes on it, but I had a bottom that was really into it. And then I had another bottom that was really into needles and, and so I think my kinks have really developed as I've had bottoms that have had other play interests.
Yeah.
Electricity was always fun. I think the stupidest thing I ever did was I was holding it and had it on and went to flip out the light. Connected the circuit. We had a fried DC. It was really fun.
Yeah, like I've gone through, I'm on my 3rd violet wand now.
Oh gosh.
And they're promising this one won't short out on me. They're saying, oh, this one is endless amount of time. Because the one I had before, I was using on one of our play parties, and I was just using it for way too long.
Oh, did it heat up?
Yeah, it fried out on me.
Yeah. I used to remember how they worked on the inside, but isn't there like a wax ring or something in there?
I don't even know, because like I messaged the company, I said, hey, this one shorted out on me, what can you do? And they said, unfortunately, with my model, once it's fried, it's done.
Yeah.
But they worked with me, because the first time the one I had went out on me, they replaced it free, because they had a 90-day exchange period. But I was too lazy to message them, and it was close to a year after it fried.
Oh my god.
And they still replaced it for free.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That's the kind of stories I like to hear about kink vendors. Like every once in a while I hear like really crappy stories, or like I've had rope not show up from other vendors and I got told too bad, it got lost in the mail, stuff like that. And so that's not my favorite way to deal with, the business side of kink. But I'm glad to hear you got it replaced.
Yeah, and then
so now so what model do you have then? Because now I'm really curious.
Then I'm trying to remember the exact model.
I don't know. It shines and stuff. Like
Nova.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. That sounds really cool.
I want to say I got it from violetwandstore.com.
Okay.
I think, I'm not sure. I can never remember.
How many like bulbs and stuff do you have?
I think I have about 7 now.
I have the rake and like the mushroom, and then I don't know, it looks like an oval, the contact point, so I can be electric and touch people. And so I have an entire set of swivel handle floggers that I've had for a long time now, that go anywhere from deerskin all the way to like studded latigo. So it's like the menagerie of like choose your poison. And every once in a while, somebody will see me flogging and be like, I didn't even know you did that. And I'm like, well, rope is so versatile. I can beat you with rope just the same as I can leather.
I have a rope flogger, too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I have a really old one somebody made me that just refuses to die, and I love it. It feels like rabbit fur because it's so soft now.
And the rope flogger was actually the first one I ever got, and I won it at a munch because the munch we go to, they do door prizes.
I think that's most munches. I love that. I never win, but I love it.
Now, I'm trying to remember. I think I'm remembering correctly. You had an incident a few weeks ago with a break-in?
I did. Some jackass decided to try and break in my back door while I was at work doing my super vanilla day job. And my alarm went off. And I have a 75-pound boxer, and he happens to be kept in the house, free to go say hello to whoever. And he's really quiet unless you walk in the house. And then he's like, how you doing? So the cop came by and had to search my house for me because I was super uncomfortable with walking in my house by myself. I didn't have my gun on me. And I peeked in because when I got home, I got there before the cops because I was freaking out because, you know, sometimes cops kill dogs and I have a big dog and I just didn't want that to be a thing. Like that was going to be really horrific. And I got home and I peeked in, I could see my laptop was still on the couch. And I was like, they didn't get past the gate. Like, they met the dog and left.
Like, we fucked up.
But, well, you know, he's protected me before. I was in the shower when he was much younger and somebody walked in the house and he got a hold of him because I didn't hug them at the door. Typically, I have to hug people. He's very trained. But the cop had to do a sweep of the whole house. And, of course, my third bedroom is a dungeon. Like, we're talking hard point and spanking bench, and there is rope, and there is paraphernalia of like Morpheus Bondage Extravaganza posters, and there are whips hanging from the door, and there are paddles hanging off the wall. Like it's very obviously adult. It is the adult playroom. And he kind of came out and he looks at me, he's like, ma'am, is that a dungeon? I said, yes, sir. And just left it there. I mean, I kind of wanted to be like, you want to find out? He was really cute, but I didn't want to end up in the wrong set of handcuffs. So, but nothing got taken, and the door is fine. I've had it, you know, kind of restabilized, but it's great. It's metal, and the dogs are good, and I'm very grateful. That's like the best case scenario.
My favorite part about it is just the cop.
Well, it's really, so Piermont, who's a friend of mine, he just helped me teach at the Atlanta Eagle this past weekend. His car was broken into. He also lives in Atlanta. His car was broken into a week before my house was broken into, and they stole his toy bag, which had 1,000 feet of rope in it or something ridiculous like that, because he had his teacher sets with him, because he teaches. And like his toys and like his gas mask, I mean, you name it, they took it. They took all of it. And you know, he's been in the scene about 2 years. And I think in the first 2 to 5 years is really when you purchase a lot of your toys that you have for a long time.
Yeah.
I can't think beyond rope the last time I purchased something new because I mean, what do I really need? I have a dungeon. Like, what do you need now? Like, do you need another X-frame? Like, Jesus. But so he's still in that first like acquisition point in life. And so for him to lose everything was just, my heart broke for him. And he had made rope. Ugh, it's horrible. I don't know what they thought they were going to do with that. Like whoever took it, like
could they clearly see what was in it, or did they just see a big bag? They
just snatched the bags, but he had several bags in the back of his SUV and they just gone. And that's a shame. That's why we lock our doors, and that's why we don't keep stuff in the car.
Yeah.
Yes, officer, I promise all of those toys in the trunk are for consensual purposes. Ugh.
The other day, we were moving a king bed into my house.
Mm-hmm.
And we got from my sister's house, and we loaded the mattress up into their van, and it was just a pain in the ass, because it's, you know, a big-ass mattress, it's heavy, so just kind of have to fold up like a taco, put it in the van. And when we get to the house, I go, we got to take it upstairs and put it in the room. I went, it's going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to unfold and knock everything off the walls.
Yep.
So I go, Bambi, where's my suitcase at? In the kitchen. Okay. I go in there and I just take out a bunch of nylon rope. And I take it, I go out to the car and, I'm tying it up. So I tie up both ends, and it was so much easier to just carry it in while it's tied up.
Oh, sure.
And we're coming in the house, and it's me and my brother-in-law bringing the mattress in. And as we're bringing it in, Bambi goes, "Why do you have rope in a suitcase?"
Oh, no. Because it's a handy place to store it.
I'm thinking, okay, she's trying to embarrass me. I know what I'm going to do. Immediately, I just went, that's why the kids don't go in that suitcase.
There you go.
And then my brother-in-law goes, why do you have rope in a suitcase?
It's a good place to put it.
And I go, where else do you put rope? That's
a great answer. I love that.
So I had to beat her ass later for trying to embarrass me.
She probably liked it, though. It sounds like she was poking you on purpose.
Although, about an hour before that, we had to take the old bed out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
I told her to, clear everything off, get everything out of there. So me and my brother-in-law go in my room, and I lift up the mattress, and there's a bunch of dirty magazines.
Oh, no!
I go, you were supposed to get everything.
I feel like she might have been setting you up. She might have thought that was funny.
Well, I was the one that put the magazines there.
Uh-huh.
But that was because I was unpacking stuff when we moved in years ago.
Okay.
And I had a bunch of dirty magazines in a bag. And I'm taking them out, I'm throwing them away. And one of my kids walk in.
Oh, no.
And so immediately I just threw it under there and completely forgot about it.
Well, I guess you haven't needed those then. That's good, I guess. You got some new ones.
I got internet.
That's very true. I think that's replaced most everything anymore. Yeah, I end up tying lots of people's stuff down for them when they move. That's actually been a thing that's been sort of a joke in the family and with my friends. Or I'll get the call, hey, how would you tie this down? And I'm like, really? Like, where are you? I'll just come do it.
Yeah, I tried to get my brother-in-law to tie it because I was thinking, you are a Boy Scout, you tie it.
Yeah, no, you have to, repeat it over and over again. Otherwise you forget it.
Yeah. And then the first end I tied up, I fucked up. I just cut a length and tried tying it like a shoe.
Sorry.
I know. And then I was thinking, fuck it. The other end, I tied it like how I would start, a corset.
Mm-hmm. So you did a reverse tension.
Yeah,
nice.
I had it all doubled up. My brother-in-law went, where'd you learn that? I'm just making it up as I go. I don't know.
Oh, man. Yeah, I had this one guy I dated, and we dated for a very short period of time, and this story is part of why we only dated a short period of time. Within 2 weeks of meeting him, he was like, we lived in Orlando. He said, so I'm going to go up to Daytona. You want to tag along? And I said, sure. Day trip to Daytona sounds really nice. It's like an hour and a half drive. It's nothing major. On the way there, he's got like a trailer hooked to the back of his truck. And I'm like, what's the trailer for? Oh, I'm going to pick up a fridge. Okay, cool. That makes sense. That's why we're going to Daytona. He was picking up a fridge from his mom. No prior warning that we were going to meet his mother. I look like a hooker in my little outfit. And then she's like, well, I have this twine here. This should hold it. And she was super northern, which I love. I love northern women because my family's northern. He kind of looks at me. He's like, well, she can tie it. And I look at him and I was like, are you sure you want me to do that in front of your mom? And then I proceeded to actually tie this fridge so well to the thing. It didn't even rattle. Like, it's one of those open air U-Haul pooler things. I don't know. I guess you call it a trailer, not a pooler thing.
Yeah.
And it did not move. It did not rattle. It stayed perfectly erect and just in a corner. And we got to Orlando that night, and he's like, that thing didn't move. He's like, all of your knots are still good. I said, you're going to have to cut that to undo that. Like, there's no way you're going to get me to untie that for you. But I remember her going, wow, you're really good at that. And I was like, oh, I suppose so. Like,
I help a lot of people move.
Yeah, I teach this. Like, typically I do it to your son. Like, it's great.
Well, maybe if you knew the relationship wasn't going to last, you might have said that.
In retrospect, it would have been great. He was a cop. I had a stint with cops and Marines. That was...
People with authority like to get tied up.
And IT guys like it, and lawyers like it. Not all of them, but especially doctors, too.
You ever tie an IT guy up with like a bunch of like tunein cables?
I'm working on that.
Always thought it'd be interesting to make a flogger out of LAN
ruin
cables.
Things for Mr. Panda. I'm just saying. He's super nerdy. I love it.
There's a lot of nerds in this lifestyle.
I think that's the only way. Let me try that again. There's a lot of nerds in this lifestyle. Yes. And we also are a little bored, and I think that we are looking for a way to express ourselves in a primal manner. And so I think that we find kink because it helps the little connections in our brain do their happy little connecting thing.
Yep.
It gives us something else to do. Because we're not like running from elephants or fighting for our lives. Like, we're actually sitting in mainly climate-controlled living situations with food on the table.
Yeah, and we're already in a basement. Might as well do something else here.
Oh, yeah, that's valid too. Right. My basement's kind of creepy. I'm very fortunate. A year ago, I was living on a couch. I had lost my job, and the community took care of me, and I had friends that really stepped up and gave me odd jobs to do and places to live, and I'm very grateful. I thought I was going to need to move back to Florida, where my leather family is. And instead, people stepped up and said, no, we really want you to stay. And then I got my job. So
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that because around our area, we've noticed the community really tends to come together whenever something major happens and really help people out. So I'm glad it's just not our community. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a breakup, lost my job, and then found out that where I was living, my boxer was not a permitted dog breed anymore. All within a course of like a week.
Oh, shit.
It was right before Valentine's Day.
Oh.
And I was just like, that's it. We're done. And I just cried a lot. And then I had friends that were very good to me. I'm very, very grateful. And funnily enough, it wasn't really the rope scene that jumped up into my life because while I was teaching them and knew them, I didn't want to share it with them like that I was having such a rough time. It was more the heavy 24/7 DS relationship sort of people that have amazing protocols that really stepped up and said, we'll take your dogs or you can come stay with us or that kind of thing. And that was really cool. It was definitely a whole other concept of community and family and like knowing who your friends are. Yeah, I'm always very grateful for that. I wrote a big thank you on FetLife about that and named a lot of people because so often I see people be unsung heroes, you know, for the community. Like there'll be safe houses for girls that have been in trauma. There'll be the person you can call for your safe call anytime. There'll be that person that has that nice word for you. And, you know, no one really ever goes and says like, hey, that person over there, even though they're not a community leader, if you want to call it that, a coordinator for a group, you know, they did this really amazing thing for me. And I wish I saw a little bit more of that. That is where it differs a lot from like my friends at the Eagle, which is a gay leather bar. They very much so recognize each other when they do something, you know, good for their community. They just did a huge benefit on Saturday for Lost and Found, which is for trans and gay kids that are kicked out of their houses basically or run away, and giving them housing and clothing and all that kind of stuff. So they just had a big benefit for that, which was really cool to go to. And I see them give back a lot more to the community in a very different way than like the heterosexual community does. And I think that sometimes when you have people, you know, I always joke around and I say, pick two of the three and you have an event coordinator, extra time, a wealth of knowledge, or extra money. You pick two of the three and you can basically be a group leader. What's really special is when you have someone that's doing it not for their own recognition, but for the good of the community and people, and like really as a service. Like, I think that that's really special. I wish they were recognized a little more or given more help, for that matter.
But I'm glad to know that it is the community elsewhere that has people like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Orlando is pretty great for that, too. I think it comes down to, getting to know the people in a community and being friendly and being polite, and also not being afraid to ask for help. If I cried wolf all the time, I don't think people would have wanted to help me. But because I was truly in a spot where I was like, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to be in a month. I'm not sure where I'm sleeping tonight, that kind of thing. It really is it was a blessing, honestly. And I did a lot of rope lessons. And that was cool, too, because these were people that, maybe had a hard point or didn't, but they were open to me continuing to do hitch and bitches at their home or teach my private lessons that I do and that kind of stuff. So that was really kind of cool. They wanted me to stay and keep teaching.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. We have a couple cool things coming up in Atlanta.
Oh, what's that?
Well, Frolicon's coming up. That's in May. But there's a rope extravaganza for Atlanta that is coming up March 12th. And I'm going to be performing for that. And I'm teaching for Frolicon for the kink track, not the rope track. I'm going to do dollification, objectification, and corporal punishment, which is one of my favorite classes to teach.
No, what is
dollification?
So that's something we haven't talked about at all on the show.
That's true, and I'm totally a doll, so I should have brought it up way earlier. And we can definitely talk about it again some other time if you want to get more in depth with it. There's lots of different sorts of dolls. There's bimbos, there's cross-dressers, there's clownification, which is like you dress people as clowns or you become a clown. There's dolls that are just sex dolls. I fall in the realm of intelligent design. So I am whatever my significant other inputs me to be. So am I a schoolgirl? Am I dressed that way? Like, if you think of Barbie is a veterinarian. She's a surgeon. She's a doctor. She's a mom. She's a tennis player. Like, there's lots of outfits that you can put on Barbie. And how you dress her is what she is then. And so for me, intelligent design is like, I'm already programmed. I already know like how to be a schoolgirl or how to be a teacher or how to be a dominatrix. And it's how I'm dressed. And yes, I can dress myself and I can make those decisions. And that's part of the intelligent design for me. But there's also something really freeing about knowing I'm dressed exactly in a way that makes my partner Randy, honestly. Like, does it turn you on? Cool. I want to wear it. But that can also, you can get down to like how the hair is done, how the makeup's done, how the nails are painted, what color they're painted. I have a couple of guys that I'll text and I'll be like, what color should I do my nails? And that is like they're partners of mine or people that I'm starting to consider for being a partner of mine. And I like to kind of see who gets into like, I want to pick your underwear or I want to pick your nail color or no, that's not really my thing. But then somebody else, like I had this one person that I dated for a while. I was like, what color eyeshadow should I wear? And he said bright blue. And I was like, oh my God, I am going to be Mimi from what Drew Carey show? But I did it because he said he wanted that. And I was making a point that he had asked for it and I would do it. And he's like, that looks horrible. I said, you're welcome. Like apparently you wanted to do some humiliation. So dolls can be, I mean, as smart or as dumb as you want them to be, I suppose. But I think that dolls also, you know, like any bottom type sort of a scenario, it doesn't excuse you from your responsibility in the scene. And I'm not submissive. I've been pretty talkative this whole time. I think you've caught it.
I love guests like you, by the way.
Oh, good.
I hate my voice.
I'm sorry?
I hate my voice, so
it's very nice.
Whenever anyone wants to talk.
For me, you know, the closest thing I can think of to like master or daddy would be maker. And I've had one person that I've called that in my entire life because it's a very special term to me. And for someone to be a maker, like they literally 24/7 make decisions for me. And I don't need anyone to make decisions. It's a very hard dynamic for me, actually, to give someone that power. And there's a lot of trust involved to do that. I typically, if I'm going to do something like that, I can only really do it for a weekend. Like, because in reality, like, I have to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I have to let my dogs potty. You know, like, there's life that has to happen. I can't just be a doll all the time. Well, you can turn protocol in, like, for your day-to-day. Like, the protocol could be that Bambi is, you know, letting the dog out at a certain time every day. But the reality is that, like, the dog might have to pee a different time of day. So for me, I tend to look at BDSM as like this add-on to an already adult situation. Like, I take care of my finances and my life and my car and my body. And on top of that, now I get to do these really kinky, wonderful things. And every once in a while, they mesh. Like, if I have a partner, I'll do their boots. I like to boot black. If I have a partner, I will wash them in the shower. And people would say, oh, that's a submissive tendency. And I say, I want to control what they look like or smell like. For me, I'm dollificating my partners, or I'm dollifying my partners. Right now, Mr. Panda's been growing a beard for me because I asked him to, because I like beards. And I don't know if it'll stay or not because he prefers goatee. But the fact that he'll let me make that decision for a little while, that really does it for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking I need to shave my beard. I'm starting to look pretty Amish.
Actually, I was checking it out earlier, and I was like, yes, it's a beard. Makes me happy.
It's more of I don't feel like shaving at all, so fuck it.
You know, I feel like if girls said that half the time, guys would be like, ew.
Well, I only gotta worry about my beard. I'm allowed body hair. Although, when a certain brat tries to fire cut me, I catch on fire.
You caught on fire with fire cups?
Well, some alcohol was involved, and I knew I was going to be caught on fire, and I had someone with a water bottle on standby.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Because the way I do fire cupping...
Broom first, and then fire cup. Just saying. Have you ever done hot water cupping?
No.
Oh, my leather dad did that one time, and I was like, what the fuck was that noise?
And how was that done?
He literally was pouring, like, basically boiling water into a cup, swirling it around, pouring it out, and then popping it on someone's skin. And he could do it so fast. I kid you not. He did it so fast, he wasn't burning people. And I was like, all right, apparently I still have stuff to learn. Like, and that's why I have a leather family. Because
you boil the water?
Like, he had it in a teapot, so it was super hot. Because if you think about it, how the fire cup works is you heat up the air in the fire cup, right?
Yeah.
And then when you pop it on the skin, it creates a vacuum because the air cools down and it shrinks because that's what air molecules do. Yes, I have to make sure I'm saying that right because that's science. That's important. So it's the same principle as heating up the air with a fire wand, but instead you're heating it up with the hot water and then pouring it out and then popping it on skin. Now, he was very good at it, and he's been doing it a long time. I personally would probably not try it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking,
seen it done,
I'm thinking that sounds cool.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking that sounds cool. How can I fuck that up?
You can pour the teapot on someone by accident. I mean, like...
I go to dump it, it spills on her, trip to the ER, skin graft.
So, it's funny you say that. I was in Jamaica years ago for Kink in the Caribbean. I was watching... 2 tops, fire cup, 1 girl. And, like, there were lots of issues with what was going on there. And I was a DM at the time in my local dungeon. So for me, I'm like, I really feel like this should not be happening right now. And she was a friend of mine. So I was like, I'm going to sit right fucking here and watch this. Because this is about to go very badly. And they were using plastic bar cups. I can't make this up. We're in a third fucking world country, and we're using plastic bar cups, because that goes over well. Nothing could possibly be wrong with those. So they're lighting these things up and setting them on her back, and one of the
were they like solo cups, or was it like a bigger, thicker plastic
stick rim cups? Like
okay, like you'd use in like dishwasher.
Oh god, can you imagine solo cups? Oh my god,
that's what I was picturing. I was thinking.
So, and this was the worst accident I've ever seen in kink, honestly, and I think it scarred me and like made me much more aware of risks that we take doing these kinky things we do. So one of the tops grabbed the actual propellant cup. They grabbed, because they were all right next to each other in a line, which is retarded, by the way. And he went to light the air inside with his torch and instead lit the propellant on fire, which then cascaded onto her back, underneath her body, and exploded out. And she had second and third degree burns from the underside of her right tit down to her hip bone, all the way up her back to her neck. Oh. Like around her whole side. Second and third degree burns in Jamaica.
Damn.
Yeah. That's terrifying, right?
That is, wow.
So when I said, now I wish I could do fire cupping without fire, and then my leather daddy was like, oh, well, this is how you do that. I was like, that's genius. I still think I'd burn someone. But that's where that came from, because I was saying, oh, I wish I could do this differently.
Yeah, I would spill the water, and yeah, I'll stick with lighting cotton balls on fire.
Yeah, if you're lighting the cotton ball on fire and then sticking the thing on, that's not so bad. That works pretty good. Do you do flash cotton or white rain gel or anything like that?
No, just regular cotton balls.
Okay, good. I call that magic fire play, because
I do want to get
I'm that
those.
dick that's like, oh, you're playing magic. That's cool. I'm going to go blow fire flames on people and fire groom them now. That's good. I had a guy that used to do that for me. They would fire groom my legs. It was amazing. I didn't shave my legs for like 3 years.
I guess that gets it down pretty close to the skin.
Yeah. And then your hair gets softer as you go, but it smells horrible because, the burning hair. But I mean, it was very sexy because, like that was like our time is he would, sit there and groom me, which
did he only do your legs or did he do anywhere else? Was it?
I only had him do my legs and my arms because my girl bits do not they don't do flame so good. Like,
but say I want to see that. Not you, I mean just in general.
I've seen it done. It's pretty badass. Like you kind of got to tap when you do it and like put it out right away and tap and put it out right away. Now I want to do that to someone. See what you did?
Nope.
Who can I call?
Just make sure you do it on Skype so I can see.
Oh, okay. I actually did a fire play demo on Skype one time, like a year or two ago. I was talking to this guy and I was like, I have to fire cup this guy and teach his Dom how to do it. We're talking on Skype. I'm just going to leave this running. And he's like, okay. He was one of my gamer buddies. He thought it was the coolest thing ever. He's like, it was just kind of weird because it was a dude that was bottoming. And I was like, well, that's, like, what do you want?
Yeah. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm definitely going to want to have you back for an episode on Dollification.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah. And can we maybe like pair that with objectification? Because I really like those two things.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I would love that. And I am teaching that class for FroliCon too, so that'll be fun. I have no idea what I'm teaching for the rest of these cons, but I'm signed up and they want me as a presenter, so I'm like, okay, let's go do it.
See, that's what I want to do with FetCast, eventually just take the show to all the different cons.
Should. And you could really, pimp the cons out. I think that'd be amazing.
That's what I'm hoping to do, but we kind of need to build up a little bit of more of a following, I think.
Right. What's that website that you're using to do the donations?
Patreon.
Patreon. Yeah, I need to look at that.
It's been great chatting with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And people can find you where?
They can find me on FetLife as DespoenaCalypso or makers_doll. It'll link up to my profile and you can see it. Or they can find me on Twitter, very like a star. Let's see here. Bed, FroliCon, Restrained, Southeast Black and Blue, FapCon, or any of the Atlanta Hitch and Bitches, and most of the Atlanta Rope Bites.
And everyone can find links to all that in the show notes. I'm going to make sure I include those, so might need you to send me an email with everything you want in the show notes.
Okay. They're all on my profile, but I can totally send you that. That's no problem.
Sweet. I like emails better because then I can just go right to it and be like, that's what they want.
Copy, paste. I totally get it.
I'm lazy.
Well, nah, you're just, you're being industrious.
That's a good way to spin it.
Spin doctor right here. Okay, cool. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Betcha.
This has been King Hulk. Until next week, stay kinky.
Okay, try and get a little more comfortable on the brand new couch.
Yeah. The reason why I needed 5 minutes was I've literally been shirtless all day. And I didn't know we were going to be doing video. I thought it was just going to be audio.
I was like, whatever, but I was, you'll be able to see my reactions better, so that might be fun.
Yeah, because earlier I was talking to and I was telling her I'm a little worried because it's just me in the room today. Because like before when we've done Skype, always been one or two other people with me. And I'm going to feel like I'm going crazy talking to myself. Thank you everyone for tuning in this week. Until next week. Oh yeah, you're see, this is what happens when I talk. I do a lot of editing.
Should I do it?
I got it.
Okay.